What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Premium MMA. My name is Hydro, aka Big Splash, and I'm here to give you my quick picks for UFC Fight Night, Josh Emmett versus Ilia Topuria. Let's get straight into it. First match of the night, we got Cody brundage versus sedrigues dumas. This is a last-minute fight. I think Cody brundage is stepping up last minute to fight sedrigues because sedrigues' other opponent couldn't, it was something went wrong with him. So now sedrigues is fighting Cody. And this is last minute. This is like about a week's notice for Cody. And I think Cody got this in the bag. He's the more experienced UFC fighter. Better wrestler for sure. In the striking area, I could see him hanging with sedrigues. But other than that, I think Cody here is the better all-around fighter. And I think he get it done in this matchup against sedrigues. Sedrigues, he didn't look too bad in his UFC debut, but he needs some work to do. And you never know, he might surprise me in this matchup. But I do have Cody brundage here. Next up, we got tatsuro taira versus kleydson rodrigues. Now this match is going to be on its feet unless tatsuro wants to wrestle. But other than that, I believe this match will stay on its feet because these are two strikers going against each other. It's two great strikers. And I believe tatsuro will put it on kleydson. Kleydson is a great striker as well. He's wild. He's not afraid to stand in your face. But tatsuro, I believe he's the better technical striker and just better all-around fighter. I believe he's better on the ground as well. So if the fight ever hits the ground, I could see tatsuro submitting kleydson. But you never know in this fight. To be honest, this fight is pretty close to me. And kleydson, his hands are bombs. They're fire. But I just believe tatsuro is just more technical and just better all around in the mixed martial arts. So give me tatsuro in this matchup. Next up, we got Jammall Emmers versus Jenkins. Jenkins, he keeps the pressure on you. Jammall Emmers, he'll try to keep the distance. But other than that, the better wrestler here is Jenkins. But he learned how to strike a little more. His striking is getting better. And it seems like he kind of uses that a little more than his wrestling. He does like to be in the clinch. But that's what he has to do in this fight is to get in Jamal's face, get in that clinch, get those takedowns and just wrestle him and wrestle Jammall. Jammall does have slick jiu-jitsu. His jiu-jitsu is nice. But to me, I think Jenkins' wrestling style of jiu-jitsu with that top pressure will just tire out Jammall. And I believe Jack could get a finish here. And Jammall is coming off of an injury. He did get his knee snapped by Pat Sabatini. But he is coming back. But other than that, Jammall Emmers is a good striker. Don't underestimate his striking. But I do believe Jenkins here could stand with Jammall Emmers and just be in his face and get those takedowns. So give me Jenkins in this matchup. Next up, we got Trevor versus chepe mariscal. This is going to be an exciting matchup. These are two fighters that puts the pressure on their opponents. And this is going to be Chepe's debut. Trevor already had his debut. I don't know if this is, I believe this is going to be his third fight, maybe his second. I'm not too sure. But Trevor, he's new into the UFC as well. And Trevor is just a powerhouse. He'll just stay in your face, just swing. He does keep his chin open. That's what I don't like. But it seems like he does have a chin and he can stay in the fight. He's really tough. And he's able to put his opponents away. And if you want to go to the ground with him, he'll go to the ground with you. But he's going to get back up. He's going to try his hardest because Trevor, there's something wrong with Trevor Peak. He's crazy. But other than that, chepe mariscal, he's also a dangerous opponent. He is dangerous on the ground, so that's where Trevor has to be careful, is going to the ground with this dude. Trevor has to keep it on the feet in order to win, because Chepe, his jiu-jitsu is superb. But the thing is, if you go the distance with Chepe, you can outstrike him. Because I believe he just wants to wrestle. He just wants to get to the ground and just tries to choke you out and look for submissions. And Trevor Peak here, if he knows that and he sees all that coming, he'll try his best to keep it on the feet and win this fight, which I believe he is going to do. So I got Trevor Peak in this matchup. Next up, we got zhalgas zhumagulov versus Joshua Vaughn. Now, this is going to be an exciting fight. Now, this is a hard debut for Joshua Vaughn. He's a young guy, but he's also good in the mixed martial arts. He's relentless. He stays in his opponent's faces. He'll march you down. He'll try to get you to the ground. He just mixes everything up. He'll strike with you. He'll try to wrestle with you. But here, Zhalgas, he's good at everything. He's good at striking and he's good at wrestling. His takedown defense is good. I believe it's better than 66%. But Never know. I haven't seen all of his fights, but other than that, Joshua Vaughn is a good opponent. And this is also gonna be a tough debut for him. I'm not betting on this fight because I do believe he can get it done if he just keeps the pressure on Zhalgas. But I'm telling you, Zhalgas just has that experience. You never know. Joshua has heat in his hands, got bombs for hands. He puts away his opponents, and he's able to wrestle his opponents and take people down. So that's where Zhalgas has to be careful. Zhalgas has to keep this on the feet and just outstrike Joshua. But Joshua is a Tasmanian devil. But I do have Zhalgas in this matchup. I have Zhalgas. Zhalgas Zhumagulov I got in this matchup just because just the overall UFC experience. Joshua, he's a little young still, and I don't know how he'll do against these UFC opponents, these UFC guys, because they are dangerous, especially flyweights. They're so all around technical. So so that's why I have Zhalgas Zhumagulov in this matchup. Next up, we got Tabatha Ricci versus Gillian Robertson. I believe this fight got pushed forward. They were supposed to fight like a couple weeks ago, but I'm not too sure what happened. But I got Tabatha Ricci still all the way. But now she does have to be careful of Gillian's wrestling. Gillian, she's a force to be reckoned with in the grappling area. But I believe Tabatha Ricci is going to use her striking, because Tabatha Ricci, she has decent striking. Her striking is all right. She has a better ground game than striking. Tabatha Ricci is going to use her striking to get those takedowns, because she's also a relentless wrestler. She's a wrestler-based grappler too, just like Gillian. So this is a really good match. I'm going to be excited to watch this fight, and usually I'm not excited for the women's fights, but there are a few women in there that I will watch, and that's these two women. Anytime they fight, because they just put it on their opponents, put the pressure on them. But yeah, this is a test for Tabatha Ricci, because Gillian Robertson is no joke, and they are the same age, but I believe that Tabatha got it. I believe she is the all-around better fighter. But we're going to see, because Gillian's going to want to take this to the ground, and if Tabatha accepts going to the ground with Gillian, that might be a problem. But Tabatha, she's also really good on the ground too. So this is, I'm not betting on this fight. This is a toss-up match, but I do have Tabatha. I'm going to be rooting for Tabatha Ricci in this matchup. Next up, we got Mateusz Rebecki versus Loik Radzhabov. Now, these are two dangerous fighters. Rebecki is the better all-around fighter in my eyes. Loik, he's just a wrestler. He just tries to get you to the ground and just maul you, keep you there, get a bunch of significant strikes while he's grounding and pounding you, and look for submissions. But in this matchup, I don't think Rebecki's going to let that happen. I believe Rebecki has also elite wrestling. He has great takedown defense, and I believe he's just going to keep this on the feet with Loik and just outstrike Loik and just tire him out, probably get a late finish like in the third round of just all that pressure, because Rebecki, he won't stop pressuring you. He'll just stay in your face through the whole fight, all 3 rounds, and just pressure you once you're tired, and then get a takedown and maul his opponents. So yeah, I have Rebecki here being the more just all-around aggressive dog fighter and the better all-around fighter, because he does have striking and he has great wrestling. So give me Mateusz Rebecki in this matchup. Next up, we got Randy Brown versus Wellington Turman. I got Randy Brown in this matchup being just the more all-around skilled fighter. Wellington, I believe Wellington does have the better wrestling in this fight, but Randy Brown is going to keep that distance and just strike with Wellington. And Wellington, I do believe he's just going to want to strike with Randy too, because Wellington, he be striking and getting in his opponent's face too, and wanting to get that clinch and just throw them elbows, them knees, and find the takedown. But to me, Randy Brown is going to defend Wellington's takedowns and just outstrike Wellington, especially using that range, that length. So yeah, give me Randy Brown in this matchup. Next up, we got Neil Magny versus Phil Rowe. This wasn't even a hard match for me to choose. I got Neil Magny in this one. Phil Rowe is a great fighter. He's a great striker. Don't get me wrong. His striking is elite. But Neil Magny, he's been getting so much better, especially over the past year. He's been getting so much better, and his grappling is great too. So if he wants to, he could wrestle Phil Rowe. I don't know if Phil Rowe will be able to defend Neil Magny's takedowns. And Neil Magny, he could find a submission on Phil Rowe. And I believe Neil Magny's striking is just a little bit better than Phil Rowe's. I'm trying to tell y'all, Neil Magny, he is a different fighter from 2020, 2021. Like, all 2022, he was dominating. He did lose to Gilbert Burns, but But that's Gilbert Burns. He was fighting a hungry Gilbert Burns that's wanted that title shot. But other than that, I got nil Magny in this matchup. Next up, we got Brendan Allen versus Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva just fought. He is a dog. He just be fighting. Brandon Allen, he's nothing to be played with as well. But I am going for Brandon Allen this time. Every time I don't go for him, he proves me wrong. When I go for his opponents, he just whoops them, even when he's the underdog. Brandon, and when I watch his fight, I'm like, damn. Brandon just keeps getting better and better as well. And his striking is getting better, and he's always had a wrestling game, always had a grappling game. So Bruno Silva does have to keep this on the feet in order to beat Brandon, but I don't know. I think Brandon will just keep that pressure, keep Bruno against the cage, because you don't want to strike with Bruno Silva. He'll knock your ass out. But I do believe Brandon Allen could get it done in this matchup. Even though Bruno's coming off of a good win, I believe it was a knockout win. But Brandon Allen is also, he's on like a 5-6 win streak right now. So he's going crazy as well. But I do have Brandon Allen in this matchup. Next up, we got David Onama versus Gabriel Santos. Now, Gabriel Santos looked decent in his UFC debut. Didn't look too good. Leroy Murphy is a dangerous opponent, so they did give him a really hard opponent for his UFC debut. But he was able to stay in the fight and get a bunch of takedowns. He did get 5 takedowns on Leroy Murphy and get some control time. But other than that, Leroy Murphy showed his experience in the UFC and just got Gabriel out of there. Well, didn't get him out of there. He didn't finish him. It went to split decision. So it was more of the striking versus control time. And Leroy Murphy had just more striking on him. Maybe reverse some positions and ground and pounded him in significant strikes. So, but other than that, Gabriel Santos is a good wrestler and he is good on the ground. But David Onama got that UFC experience and he's a great striker as well. So I believe he's gonna put it on Gabriel Santos. I was flipping back and forth on this one. I was, because Gabriel Santos isn't no gut. He's a good fighter. But I don't know. That UFC debut, it was a good fight, but this fight he can bounce back. David Onama is coming off a loss against Nate Landwehr, but that's Nate Landwehr, that's Nate the Train. But Nate the Train did beat up David. But yeah, like I said, this one it was a toss-up for me. But I'm going to root for Gabriel Santos. David Onama does have the UFC experience and maybe is the better striker. He is the better striker. But Gabriel Santos, he just puts the pressure on his opponents and just that wrestling. And here, I think Gabriel could get takedowns on David Onama whenever. But David Onama does have a slick jiu-jitsu game. But I think Gabriel's jiu-jitsu or grappling game is better than David's. But David's striking is better than Gabriel's. So here, I'm going to root for Gabriel Santos in this one. Give me Gabriel Santos. Next up, we got Austin Lane versus Justin Tafa. Austin Lane did look good in his Dana White Contender Series fight. He did lose one before that, but he came back and looked better than ever and knocked out his opponent. Hey, but Justin Tafa is coming off a win as well. He was going against Parker Porter, who is a knockout artist, who hits hard. He is a little small for the heavyweight division, but he can hang with all of them, and he does get wins. But Justin Tafa finished Parker Porter, and that was impressive to me. So give me Justin Tafa in this matchup, being just the better technical striker. And I don't see this fight going to the ground at all. This fight's going to stay on his feet. And Justin Tafa, he is an actual good technical striker. He's a kickboxer. So give me Justin Tafa in this matchup. Next up, we got Amanda Ribas versus Macy Barber. Now, these two ladies are coming off of good wins, like dominant wins. But give me Amanda Ribas all the way. Amanda Ribas is going to beat up Macy Barber. I wouldn't say she's going to beat her up for real, but I believe Amanda Ribas is better on the ground. She could submit Macy, and she could just outstrike Macy. But Macy, she's good in the striking department as well. She did impress me in her last bout, but Amanda Ribas is a dog. She is a monster, and I believe she could get it done in this matchup, either by knockout, TKO, submission, or decision, unanimous decision. Because Amanda Ribas, she's no joke. She's nothing to be played with. So give me Amanda Ribas in this matchup. And we got the main event, Josh Emmett versus Ilia Topuria. Now this fight is going to be fireworks. I'm not too sure if it's going to stay on the feet, and I hope it does, because these are two strikers, two great strikers at that. And if this stays on the feet, you never know who's going to knock out who. But if anything, if anyone does get the finish here, I believe Ilia can. Because Ilia, he is a good all-around mixed martial artist. He could wrestle, he could grapple with you, his jiu-jitsu is good, but I believe he just loves staying on the feet. He just loves knocking people out and just hitting people in their face. He's great in the striking. And Josh Emmett here, I only seen him really strike. I haven't seen him do anything on the ground too much in his fights, just other than get back to his feet to strike and knock out his opponents. Because Josh Emmett has bombs in his hands. So that's what Ilia has to be careful of. Well, they both have to be careful of each other. These are two heavy-handed featherweights. But give me Ilia Topuria in this matchup. I believe he is the better striker and better wrestler, better grappler, better all-around mixed martial artist in this matchup. So give me Ilia Topuria here, keeping his O. And that is it for my quick picks for UFC Fight Night, Josh Emmett versus Ilia Topuria. This is going to be a great one. It's going to have me at the edge of my seat. I just can't wait for this one. If y'all want to see how I did last week, click the videos right down below. Other than that, if y'all enjoyed the video or agree with me, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.